everybody, and welcome to day number 6 of my Christmas card series for 2018. Today we're going to be using some Catherine Pooler inks and a gorgeous stamp set by Concord 9th. This is actually not a Christmas stamp, but we're sure as heck going to make it that. Yep, isn't it beautiful? This is Bloom's Fill-In stamp set. Let's get started. So I've put my stamp into the lid of my Misty. I've actually inked it up just slightly, pressed it into my paper on the base, just so that I know where that stamp is going to ink, so I can put my piece of paper into the Misty without it not having corners where it stamps. So I'm going to stick that down. I just have a little bit of adhesive underneath, and we're going to ink it up with our beautiful Juniper Mist by Catherine Pooler Designs. These ink pads are amazing. They're wonderfully juicy. Their actual pad material is foam, so you get a nice distinct image when you're using solid imaged stamps, especially like this one. This one is super detailed. And of course, obviously it has a lot of solid area on its stamped image. So we're just going to give it some pressure and hope this little fella works. There we go. I'm just going to push it back into place. It tends to pick it up just because there's so much flat area. And I am going to ink it up one more time here, just because I'm going to see if I can get just a little bit better coverage. Once again, going in with that ink pad, and I tend to move the ink pad around like this, just so that you don't get any pad lines. Then again, you can go in and re-ink again if needed, because that's the beauty of the Misty. I'd say if this is the only tool that you get in addition to like your trimmer and your stamps, this would be the tool that I would invest money in. There we go. We have a fairly decent stamped image. I have one little spot there, but you know what? I'm okay with it. Oh, and I have another spot there. It's because I have something stuck to my ink or to my stamp. I'm not going to really worry about it. It doesn't, background is beautiful the way it is. So we'll call this done. I am going to make a secondary card, so I'm going to stamp another one, and we'll go on to filling in those beautiful flowered images. So I popped my card image into my mini Misty here, and we are now going to start on this image here, which I'm going to call a poinsettia. I mean, obviously it's whatever flower they ultimately designed this for, but I'm going to call it a poinsettia. I'm going to start with the inner version, and I have to find the right. There we go. Okay. Have to find the right position here for this particular image. There. And this happens to be the outer edges of the leaves. All right, now we're going to go in with some Rockin' Red. This is a nice, vibrant red ink. Once again, Catherine Pooler, great coverage. You must know that the Rockin' Red and the Midnight Black ink from Catherine Pooler does stain your stamps. It doesn't do anything else to them but stain them. And you know what? A good quality stamp actually does absorb a tiny bit of ink. So you'll know that your stamp is a good quality polymer. So there's the first one. And because we have a duplicate image, I mean, obviously, a secondary one, you can literally drop it in as long as you've input it into the corner. Drop in your secondary card. away you go. And this stamp set would be pretty cool for making duplicates or having an assembly line cardstock. So we're going to continue on. I'm going to do all the insides of our flowers first, and we'll go from there. So now I'm going to do the leaves. I've got my stamp positioned where I want it. I'm going to pick it up with the lid, and we're going to use some green tea. So I'm going to lightly add that, stamp that down. And now I want a little bit of variegated green color. So I'm going to bring in some spruce ink. And to apply it, I am going to use a sponge dauber. So I actually have a set, and these are just for my Catherine Pooler inks. I haven't used them all, obviously. I've got a little key in the top, and then my daubers in the bottom. Just makes it easier to find, and then I have one dauber per color. So this time I'm going to take the dauber with some ink on it, and I'm just going to lightly dab the inner part of the leaves of all of that triplicate of stamp, and I'm going to press it down. So it just adds just a tiny bit of darkness to add a little bit of depth, as if the leaves are tucked under that quote-unquote poinsettia. And we're going to go on and finish off the rest of the greenery, and we're going to go on to the next step. Next I'm going to do the triplicate of berries, and I'm just going to use a block for this. The one thing that I really love about this stamp set is that it's not precise, so it leaves these beautiful little white voids, and it just makes it so much more pretty. And again, this is going to go super easy, pretty easy to line up. Actually, you don't even really have to be exact about it, because those white lines just make it that much more beautiful. And there's only 4 of the berries, so I can quickly process through them very easily. And again, I'm tying in that rock and red color back to our poinsettia, and there we go, that's done. I think we're going to work on these little tucked flowers here next. I just have to decide what color. So I decided we're going to use some peppermint scrub. We're going to do this little flower here. And once again, things don't have to be in exact position, because it's just going to give you that wonderful touch of white. There we go. And we're going to do the other bloom the same. So I'm just going to pull in a similar block. And I'm going to pull in the stamp to do that one as well. And this just adds another deeper color to the mix of the background. And again, super duper easy. Voila! Oops, and I forgot to do my other one, so I'm going to have to come back and do my peppermint scrub on my secondary card here. We do have the tiny little triplicate of leaves there to do. So I'm going to bring our spruce back in, because it is there. It's just very subtle, of course, being our two-toned leaves on the other side. So we're just going to add that to our triplicate of leaves, and again, super duper fast. I'm not being exact. It's the beauty of this stamp set. It's awesome. So of course you can use your tool to set up and do your main images. And of course I've bunged that up, but I'm not even worried about it. And you can set it up and do all your big images so you get better positioning, and then use your blocks and do quick ones for all the other instances. What I am going to do is I am going to get a little tiny bit finicky here, and I'm going to create a mask so that I can color this poinsettia in with a red Copic marker using my airbrush system. So I'm going to go and stamp just one of these, and I'm going to cut an inside mask so it just has the hole for my poinsettia, and then we're going to use the airbrush to color that in a little bit more because I don't want to leave it white. I want to go for a red. So I'm going to do that and we'll be right back. So here's the beginning of my mask. This is a full post-it sticker. That's all it had. It has adhesive all over except for the one little lip. So I'm just going to use my sharp scissors here, and I am going to cut out that flower void. In keeping with the leave a little white, I've not cut this directly on the line. I am going to leave a little bit of space so that we actually get some little faux white lines around some of those petals. So keep that in mind when you're doing your design. So basically I just take my post-it note and position it down, giving it a little press. Now, what I am going to have to do, I'm just taking scrap paper here, and I'm going to use it underneath all of the edges because the overspray on a Copic air system sometimes does interfere with the background. So in order to not have overspray, we're going to do that, and then everything is masked, and then we're going to apply our ink. So I've got an R14 loaded in my airbrush. You can use either end of a Copic sketch in this system. If you want a more detailed, finer spray, you'll want to use the nib end. And the way you know that is inserted correctly is at the same angle as this air distributor piece. It's the same angle as the nib end. I mean, because you can actually put it in upside down. This is incorrect. Okay, you have to follow the same angle of these two pieces. Okay, and I just spray off on scrap piece of paper off to the side, and we're just going to ensure that our mask is down, and away we go. Now, my sketch marker seems to be on the low side of ink, so we're going to add some more ink, and I'll show you how to do that in 2 seconds. So a quick tutorial here. All Copic colors come in a container for various ink. This is just a refilling mechanism. You want to remove the nib, and you can use tweezers, but I just use my hands because it's a heck of a lot faster. And then of course you open up your various ink container. Make sure you've got the right number. They're all labeled on the outside, R14, and they're also labeled on the tops. And literally all you do is squeeze it just ever so slightly. Do not overfill your markers, because you're going to have serious leakage out of your nibs and your tips. So be very, very conscious of how many ounces of liquid that you put in there. I sometimes only do maybe 3 or 4 squeezes, and I call it done just so that I don't overload it. I've seen people even weigh them to ensure that, number one, they're full versus, you know, half full. And, but to each his own. So there we go. I actually do lay them down closed for a few minutes just to allow the ink to transfer. And there we go. We have our marker all ready to go to return to our project. And it literally took a minute to refill it. So back in to my ink cartridge and my sprayer, and it will take a few minutes for that to go up the nib, but eventually, there we go. So this is the beauty of masking. You can pull it off and go, oh my god, it's so awesome. Now, the color that I did use, the R14, is got a little bit more of an orangey tint, and you know what? I'm okay with that. I could have gone more red, but what the heck. It's all about having fun and creating. So once again, you're going to go on to the next floral, mask it off. Don't forget to put your spray guards on. And because it's sticky, it works beautifully. And this time I'm just going to put one underneath, just so it doesn't spray all over my table. And away you go, and proceed and finish off the rest of your blooms. So I lost a little bit of footage after I went and colored in all my poinsettias, so I thought I'd go through this with you now. So this is the one that we use the R24, I believe it was, for our poinsettias to mask them. And I just accompanied with it striped paper that has a little bit of orange undertone. We have used a large Merry Sentiment and a smaller Christmas Sentiment. This one has a bronze metallic embossing powder for that. All of the supplies will be listed on my blog, so make sure you check that link below. And the secondary one, I used more of a cherry red. This is an R29. And of course, it looks a little bit different. If you do put them side by side, you can tell one is a little bit more orange than the other. And for this one, I used a tinsel embossing powder for my Mary. And again, the same stamp sets for those. And for this one, I took my striped paper and kind of cockeyed it in my trimmer. And it didn't quite fit, but I'm okay with that. It kind of makes it a little bit different. So don't be afraid to use your scraps up. All right? And it just makes it a little bit more whimsical, having the white peeking out, because everything else has white peeking out. So yeah. So our cards today turned out really cute, and all using non-festive stamp sets. So that's wonderful. So make sure you look through your own at home. You'll have to excuse the paint on my hands. I was at a paint night tonight. Had a blast. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've learned something. Hope you look through your own stash and see what you can make into a holiday card. Thanks for all the likes. Thanks for all the comments. And I hope to see you soon. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.